Alright, hello there guys, and welcome to the New Year's video for 2016. Well, it may not go up by New Year's, but it is certainly being filmed on New Year's. Anyway, in this video, we are going to look at OS X through the years, so to speak. Pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade from OS 9. OS 9 never gets overwritten, actually. It just gets, OS X gets installed alongside OS 9. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and install OS X over OS 9. Now, I already have Panther installed on this very machine. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to actually get rid of that. And how we do that is we boot into OS 9 here. As you can see, we're in OS 9. And we want to get rid of the system folder. I actually should turn this down. This is actually 2:28 AM as it says up in the corner there. Get rid of the users folder. We don't need that. Get rid of this mock.sim, applications, library. Get rid of all of this, and then we go empty trash. Now this is going to be the long part, because it is going to take about a half hour to do this. I can't remember how long it actually takes. There's about 250,000 files, at least when I uninstalled Tiger from this machine. There's about 250,000 files that need to be uninstalled. So this is kind of the preamble to the actual videos. We're getting rid of OS X that already exists on this machine, and we are going to install OS X. Now, let's go over some of the equipment we're going to use in this video. Now, I know a lot of the appeal of the newer OS X is the intro animations and movies that you get, and sadly, for whatever reason, this iMac, I can bring it up here while we're waiting for this to happen. Go to sound. And you can barely hear my cat scratching at the door. I apologize for that. You see there's no device output. For some reason, newer versions of OS X can't see that there is an output device. So it's kind of screwed up, but I do have this here, which we do have plugged in. This is a Bluetooth speaker. Does have an auxiliary in though, and I just have that off to the side here because it will play music out of that just fine. As for the OS installation images, I've been on WinWorld, and what I have here is I have a copy called the Mac OS Legacy disk, which has all the updates for 9.x up to 10.4.11. All the combo updates, which is all you're going to need. So we'll be able to fully update each version of OS X to see how things have changed since the launch versions. Because if I go through here, all of my install discs here, these are all retail versions, and they all are basically the base versions with no updates. I know Apple sometimes like to release newer versions with newer updates already slipstreamed into the install, but yeah, unfortunately these ones are all base, so we have to fully update them. So let's check on our progress before I go ahead and cut the video here, but as you can see, it's still counting up, and it's going to be counting up for quite some time. So, until this is done, I'm just going to go ahead and cut the video now, and I will resume when we're ready to start into 10.0. Alright, it is done deleting OS X. So we're going to go ahead, let's nudge everything up a little bit here. So we can access the CD-ROM drive. Go ahead and eject, and Start out with 10.0 here. I'm going to tilt the camera a little bit to compensate for the screen tilt. I guess not, but whatever. It'll be fine. There's OS 10. Now we're going to go ahead and just install it and restart. And we reboot. We get a bong. And soon we will get a gray screen. And boot with a Happy Mac. And something you may notice, and it's actually, I think it only appears in 10.0, but I could be wrong, is you get a little spinning beach ball up here where the mouse cursor is supposed to be. That doesn't actually move at all. Here we go, now we're booting. This is a thing that actually will be very familiar in the coming installations. Spoiler, I've already done all of these. But yeah, this variation of pretty much everything sticks around for at least till 10.2. For the most part, it will be the same. So in this case, I'm not going to bother showing the installation for 10.1 because all 10.1 is basically, think of Windows Vista to Windows 7, and you kind of have the same thing. Like, for the most part, it's the same. Anyway, we get our pinstriping, can show about installer, and it will tell us this is version 1.0 of the installer. We can reset our password if we have an OS 10 installation, but we do not, so it's not going to matter. Or we can go to disk utility, and we can see how primitive disk utility looked back then. If it wants to take its sweet time, of course. There we go. That's disk utility, or you got your first aid, and you got your very primitive looking drive set up here. But again, this was Mac OS 10, when it might as well have been a public beta. And the problem here is, I think, for whatever reason, it decides it wants to... Nope, never mind, it came back to life. Usually it'll crash right there. So, go ahead and install Mac OS 10. It's going to read all the packages on the disk. We're going to go ahead and continue. Now, I find this interesting. It says Power Macintosh G3, and then it calls it a Power Mac G4. Why not just call it a Power Macintosh G4? And you will notice the King of PowerBook is very notably excluded here, even though it does have a G3. But we're running it on an iMac G4, so we're fine. We want to agree, yeah. Software license agreement. We can select our disk. We don't want to erase our destination because we'd want to keep that OS 9 installed. And I don't even think you get to select. Oh no, there you go. So we're going to just turn off the BSD subsystem and the additional print drivers because we don't need either of those. It'll make it simple for us later on. So you didn't get a lot with the original version of OS 10, as you can see. Go ahead and install it, and pretty much this stays the same for many versions. I believe up until 10.5 or 10.6, I can't remember. So this part is pretty familiar, and we will see that as I will show off a little bit of it as we get past 10.1. So until the next segment, I will see you guys around. It'll be a few seconds for you, but it'll probably be at least a half hour for me. Alright, it finished, and it decided to just reboot without asking me to confirm it. I think it does that. I don't know why. Anyway, we're going to wait for it to boot, and we will hopefully see the intro animation. Alright, here's our boot screen. No change here, of course. I mean, it's the same version we did just install, so might take a bit to initialize everything first time, but shouldn't be that long, hopefully. Alright, we should be there. We should be there any minute now. Come on, buddy. Any second. 10.0 is an OS not necessarily known for its speed, and it looks like it's going to... Oh. What? That's interesting. Your home folder is not available. And it didn't even... Weird. Again, did I mention that 10.0 is kind of buggy? Because we don't even have, we didn't even get the setup prompt, and yeah, so we have a solution for this, and that solution is single user mode, which we do by holding Command S. Try to stretch my chair forward here so I can actually... There we go. Things are just all messed up right now. So yeah. Quickly look up while this thing boots the steps for doing this. As you can see, we are at the command prompt. And it tells us right there what we want to do to begin with. So, I don't know why it wants us to do that, but we have to. Yeah, what we have to do is we have to go through these little steps here. Because for some reason when 10.0 installs, it doesn't prompt for the setup wizard or the setup assistant. Wrong thing here. And it pretty much, again, it tells us what we want to do to begin with at first, which we need to... I'll zoom in a little bit. But those two commands is what we need to do to mount the system as read-write, which is how we're going to actually delete the Apple setup done file to allow the setup assistant to run. So just get this out of the way. And now it's mounted. And this is interesting. Did it actually work? I'm just going to do it one more time with the sudo. Read-only file system. Alright. Okay. I can't scroll up, obviously, but I screwed up. I forgot the trailing slash, so... there we go. And of course, single user mode doesn't have command history, so now I have to go shit. And now we're good. So we type exit, and it will start to boot verbose. And we can zoom back out and let it boot. And this time it should start up normally. Right? Right. Alright, and that's all it took. For some reason, it thinks this setup is done. It's really quiet. You get this chill music. Put that back over there. We're gonna go ahead and get right into it. Continue. Actually, I shouldn't even need to do this. Did I mention this is really buggy? It's gonna take a bit. It's not just screen downwards a little bit so you guys can see everything. Come on. If I just issue Command Q, yep, there we go. Alright. Don't really care. Don't really care. Because this machine isn't going to be holding any critical data. And this account's probably just going to get wiped anyway when I'm done. Alright, we're done. Still booting verbose. And now we're in the OS. Now, in a second here, I'm going to go ahead and get out my legacy disk. This thing runs loud too, holy crap. Alright. It expects you to shove the optical drive just the back in, but it's really resistive. Just trying to put my disk back in. There we go. Anyway, so if you want to see how primitive this is your desktop background, and that is your lot. You can see the shadowing effects are kind of very primitive. The pinstriping is very, very prevalent here about this Mac. It's very down to brass tacks. Go to applications. You'll see this is also very brass tacks. Very big, primitive. Not like newer Mac OS 10 where all of this is condensed. Let's see what we get here. Don't get a lot of applications with it. You do get Mail, Internet Explorer. Internet Connect was for when you wanted to connect via modem and you need to use an account name. Utilities, we had text edit. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Thankfully it knew better. Quit text edit. Got dock extras, which this is basically like back then when you were transitioning from the control strip to the dock. You can have things like this where you click and you can quickly change your settings. Let's go back to utilities. You know, if it wants to open it, that'd be super. There we go. CPU monitor. Back when it was its own thing. Grab. Stuff and Expander was once included with OS 10. I do believe Command Shift 4. No. Nope, those shortcuts did not work in OS 10.0. You had to use grab. That kind of sucks. Let's see, selection. Can I hit space? Nope. Grab was not built into the system at this time. Interesting. We go into system preferences. We can see displays. You didn't really have any choice of customization here. I mean, you could select your colors, but see, screensaver, you could not choose your desktop background. You did not have much in the way of screensavers either. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and run the 10.0.4 update here. This will mount a disk image, because 10.0 is when they started using .dmg's standard. And you can see we've got our combo update, which this will update the system. And you will need the administrator password. It doesn't automatically prompt you, you just have to do this. And yes. Just go through it all, and this should be relatively quick. And we'll see if anything changes between 10.0 and 10.0.4. Anything major, at least. Now, I did want to talk about this. When it says optimizing system performance, I've heard many rumors and reports back in the day that if you mess with your system too much while this is happening, you could potentially screw up your entire system. To the point where you have to reinstall the OS. And I've never experienced it myself, but I've heard of enough people having problems with it back in 10.4. I thought I'd just give it passing mention right now, right here. So, we're going to go ahead and just let this complete. We're going to reboot. And I'm just going to go ahead and poke around and see if there's any more user-facing features that got added between 10.0 and 10.0.4. And then we will pretty much move on to 10.2. Or 10.1. I don't know if it's even worth it to spend time on 10.1, because 10.1 is basically the same thing with very subtle tweaks to the OS. A lot of the major changes, if you can even call them that, didn't happen until 10.2, which was Jaguar. So, I don't know. We'll see where we go with this. But we'll see. We'll reboot it in a second here, and we'll see what happens. Alright, here we are back in front of the iMac. It's actually the very next day, and I had to let it go for quite some time because it was stuck on optimizing installed software. So, we're going to hope this thing still works afterwards. So let's go ahead and fire it up. And if it doesn't, we just go on to installing 10.2, which we're going to have a look at the software for 10.2, but not the installation procedure. Actually, we're not even going to take a look at the installation procedure for 10.2, nor are we going to take a look at the startup animation, because that hasn't changed until 10.3. So yeah, if you guys want to see all that, well, you can go on YouTube to prove me right, but yeah, the startup video did not change. So, yeah, we're gonna let this thing boot, and we'll be right back. Well, it's looking like we didn't kill the OS, which is a good sign. And in the case of the OS update like this had failed, if you can get back in the OS, you want to rerun the combo updater, because that will reapply the update. But we're not going to bother. even if this is a buggy pile of garbage, we're just going to install back over it again with 10.2. Alright, so let's see what changed. Let me get a look at this. Now, I'm noticing some of these shadowing effects have been refined just a little bit. At least up here, it doesn't look as horrible to me. Let's see if it actually updated. It did indeed update. Okay. So far, it's looking pretty good. Let's eject that because we're going to need to in a minute here. So far, I mean, it's looking a little bit better. It is a bit faster. It is more responsive. Still can't change your background. Because clearly Apple knew what was best back then. Even though you could do it. You could do it back in OS 9. Then again, I could just be missing something here, because you could potentially change your background. You just have to have an actual photo file to do it. Let's see, actually, if I can find one in OS 9. Oh yeah, I don't have a, I don't want to rename. I'm trying to think, do we have one here? I don't remember where they store the default photos for Mac OS 9, so we're just going to have to go ahead and just say that they didn't include it, the ability to change it, because in OS 10.2, you get your dedicated system control panel for it, or your system pref pane, as they call it in OS 10. So let's get it right underway here and get 10.2 on this thing. Now 10.2 was the last version of OS 10 to fit comfortably on one CD. Again, not much has changed from 10.0. It's really just a really big service pack, which is why, and my eject key does not want to retract the optical drive. This installs much in the same way like OS 9 to OS 10.0 did. You can boot off the CD, or you could just double-click install Mac OS 10. Now, something you may not notice here is it does pop up a window prompting you to install. You got this little thing here, which still uses the old install icon. But when you double click the Mac OS install CD, you'll notice you're just dropped in here with all these weird files. It actually opens up this folder for you when you insert the disk. So, also another thing to note here is back in these old days, Apple actually included copies of Acrobat Reader with OS 10 because they didn't have Preview yet, or Preview didn't support PDFs. I'm not sure which came first. I'm not sure if Preview actually supported PDFs on launch, but back then they didn't have Preview. So pretty much this Acrobat was your lot for that. Let's actually answer that question right now. Did we get Preview with this original? Yes, we do. But does it support OS PDFs? That is the thing here. Let's bring up the OS 10 install CD, Mac OS 10, and we'll drop that on Preview. Okay, it does support PDFs. Huh. I don't know why they give you a copy of Acrobat Reader then, if it supports PDFs. Probably because Acrobat Reader has more features than Preview did at the time, so they wanted to give you both so you could pick what you're more used to. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into 10.1 or 10.1. Yeah, what's the 10.2? quit. No, we don't want to. Okay, so I would say that this assumes, because I wanted to start the classic environment, that you're only going to use this application if you're coming from an OS 9 installation. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to go to System Preferences, bring up Startup Disk, and just to make it easier so we don't have to hold keys at startup, and select the disk and reboot. Of course, it takes forever and a half. But interestingly enough, we've got two instances of 10.0.4, but and this doesn't even look like a CD. You kind of have to read the text to know. So, alright, that's done. We're going to go ahead and restart into the install, which I am, again, not really going to show because it's the same exact thing. There's no difference. So, we'll be right back. So there's one very small difference I did want to point out with the 10.2 installer, or 10.1. I'm going to get this confused all the time. There is no disk utility, or anything like that. This is just the installer. That is it. And for, you know, posterity, this is still installer 1.0. So, there you go. That's really the only difference, is you don't get disk utility with 10.1. Probably because they expect you to use your 10.0 disk for that. Alright, we're in 10.1. And I don't have a mouse. Do I even have a keyboard? No, it's frozen. Huh. That's not fun. Reboot time. So here's the fun thing. If I hit the power button, it goes to sleep normally. But if I'll just get back here and turn this off completely. There we go. Let's go ahead. There's a paper bag right under me, which is what those sounds are. Let's hope that worked. Alright, we'll let it boot, and hopefully this time we actually get a mouse and keyboard. That shouldn't have happened. Alright, we do have a mouse. At least booting up we do. Now, this thing just wants to hurry the hell up. Again, Mac OS didn't really come into its own until I believe 10.2. So, yeah. This still lays a lot of the framework for the future OS versions, though. Let's go ahead, and now, yes, we do have, it's not freezing. We have 10 point... It doesn't even show me what version it is. What the okay. Fine. We can do it this way, too. All we have to do is go to Utilities. Utilities. There we go. System Profiler. What? Wait a minute. This isn't right. Why is it still on 10.0. Wait a minute. What the? Something's not right here. Oh, whoops. Oh. Ha! 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 I put the wrong disk in the drive. Oopsie daisy. Well, I'm not going to edit that one out because that's for, you know, entertainment's sake. We'll keep that in there. Here's 10.1. Jesus Christ almighty. I'm going to have to, like, edit something in. Like, no, you fool. Anyway, let's go ahead and do this again. Now, I'm kind of shocked it even let me install because, oh wait, no. That's just the build number. So it did just reinstall 10.0 over 10.0.4. That's interesting. Okay, I didn't know you could do that. Huh. I thought it would have stopped you and be like, hey, yo, you know OS 10's already installed on this computer, right? You know, you may want to make some... You may want to think about your life decisions here a bit, but no, it just let me reinstall it. Which is a problem because now we can't do much of anything. I believe... Did it keep the user that I made? Yes, it did. Okay. Weird. There are two Chris's here, interestingly enough, but whatever. We're just going to go ahead and hit the install Mac OS 10 installer, which should this time run under OS 10. Because this is actually meant for an upgrade. Well, not really meant so much. Is it can... They expect you to upgrade from a previous installation. So, as you can see here, we're going to reboot right into the installer. And that should be that. So we will come back. I want to see if disk utility is present in 10.1. Because for some reason it wasn't present on 10.0 on a reinstall. I don't know why, because it was present when we were initially installing OS 10, but whatever. So let's get into the 10.2 installer, and I want to quickly see if disk utility is there, then we'll come back when 10.2 is installed. And like I said before, the installer is basically the same. And there's our disk utility. Let's see if they've made it any better. Yeah, they improved it quite a bit. It actually looks almost like El Capitan's disk utility, which is not very good. Anyway, let's go ahead and install this thing, and we will see you back at the desktop, I guess. Also, a little pro tip if you're installing this for test purposes and such like that. There is a ton of crap here that you don't need, depending on your language. I know we don't need BSD, I know we don't need all of this. But I did want to point this out because a lot of this did just get added as of 10.1, so you need to look for it before you just go willy-nilly installing it, because it will add quite a bit of time to your install time. So just look for that before you go ahead and install. Alright, it is hours later. Well, not hours, but I took a break because I had to do some chores around the house. Anyway, we are now in 10.2, I believe, this time. If it wants to respond to me, that would be quite nice. Come on. I'm getting beach balled halfway to death here. This is not nice. Hello. Mac OS 10. Hello. It's dead. Again, did I ever mention the Mac OS 10 was really, really buggy in its early days? 'Cause boy, it sure is. Let's get my disk back. No such luck. Oh, well, we'll be right back when it finishes booting again. While we're booting, I will talk about Jaguar a little bit. This Jaguar was the first version to have multiple disks. I do believe, depending on the computer you had, let's see, I'm trying to think if I can remember. No, depending on the computer you had, Jaguar could be on a DVD, but for the most part, the only version I've ever seen is on CDs, and 2 CDs at that. Panther was the first version to come on a DVD. I remember buying a copy from Otherworld Computing way back in like 2005 or so, I want to say. I bought a copy of it off OWC, and it came actually on an iMac DVD, which back then, I guess they didn't enforce machine checks, so an iMac DVD was enough for it to work. It actually came on 2 DVDs. The first one was just, Mac OS, and the other one was like extra software, I guess. Alright, so we should be back here, and I'm going to get my DVD back now. And we are actually going to put in the OS Legacy disk as to update this. Go ahead and put this behind the 10.0 disk. Alright. That in there. About this Mac. 10.1. There we go. It works. Now if we go to System Preferences, we now have the ability to change our desktop background. So we can choose a folder, and I don't have anything on here, so I'm not much. But this is when a lot of the newer ones actually came out. And I did use, I believe, this one before I wiped it, so we're going to go back to that one. And you can see they changed a little bit. Again, you do get options for a bunch of things now. And this is the system preferences that I believe they still use to this day, the layout. Obviously the icons have changed, but this basic layout is what they kept up until today, I believe. I would go look at my MacBook, but I really don't feel like dusting it off. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. And we're going to go, let's see, that doesn't work yet. But you will notice we do have sound. I don't have the speakers plugged in because I was using them in the kitchen earlier. We do have sound, weirdly enough. And if I go into sound preferences, you'll see that we have nothing. Output. Just built-in audio controller. It doesn't say anything about the speakers. It's kind of weird. I think what happened is when I was repairing the MacBook, I may have somehow screwed up the internal amp or something. I don't know. I don't think I screwed up the DAC, because if I did that, then we'd get no sound out of it whatsoever. I don't know. Something has gone horribly wrong. Maybe it's the CMOS battery being dead that caused this. And before anybody gives me the speech on that, I did remove it. There is no battery in there right now because I don't want it to leak. But maybe that's why it's doing this. I don't know. It's not cut off from power, so it should be just fine. Anyway, oh yeah, I want to go to Applications and look at these. So with this, we did get a fair bit more as far as applications go. We got iMovie now. Let's see, 12:06 p.m. So let's keep that in mind as we go down here. We have iTunes is now included. That's really about it. Let's go ahead and put this into list view. And yeah, we got all this stuff. And hey, disk copy. Remember that utility? Oh boy. I remember a lot of this stuff that was obsoleted not long after. Yeah, so let's go ahead and update this thing to 10 point, let's see. This is going to be running 10.1.5. I'm actually going to copy this to the desktop this time before doing it. As you can see, we got a more, I guess, expanded copy dialog than what we get in the newer versions of OS X. yeah, we're going to go ahead and mount that disk image. And we're going to skip verification, because I know it's good. And if it's not, you know what? I don't care. Installer update is required for this update. Huh. Huh. Really? Really? Well, okay. I guess we're going to cut it short there, because I really don't feel like trying to get more stuff onto this computer, and it's already on an optical disc. I don't feel like burning another optical disc to get stuff onto this computer. So I'm going to cut it there for this part of old OS 10 versions. And in the next segment, we will look at OS 10.2, or OS 10, yeah, OS 10.2. I get so confused because now it's Mac OS 10.2, you know, in Apple speak now. But we will be looking at OS 10.2 in the next video, along with 10.3, and maybe we'll just do 10.4 while we're at it, because really to kind of give an insight into the next segment, this is going to be just a two-part video, screw it. In the next segment, basically, 10.2 lays a lot of the underlying groundwork for future OS versions, and 10.3 actually laid down a lot of the user-facing features for later OS 10 versions, like labels, the way the icons look, such like that. And many of it was used up until 10.9, so it had a good run. Anyway, so until the next video, I will see you guys later.